What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Bridging the Geekdoms podcast, a podcast where a few nerds just, talk about movies, comics, TV, books, music, and so much more.
We talk about some shit and some other shit. That's all you need to know.
I'm Robert, and with me, as always, is the skinniest of penis,
Your boy.
And guest, kind of, this week. I've been trying to get her on more and more often, but, it only happens like once or twice a year, is Rachel. How's it going, Rachel?
It's your
It's going good.
It's your bi-yearly visit.
Well, I'm sorry. I work all season long, and finally season is coming to a close, so I have more free time. Yay!
Same.
You all don't understand.
So this week is, we all saw Infinity War, and that's kind of the the topic of today's episode. But first, I want to just talk about some things that went on over the past week news-wise. Is there really anything you need to talk about, Colton, from the past week? I think
not really. It's been Infinity War.
Infinity War. So we're going to get to that. So some non-comic book related news. Stranger Things season 3 has begun production. I'm excited. I felt the last season was really good. Rachel, what do you have you watched this Stranger Things?
I've watched season 1. I have not got around to season 2 yet, which I will be binging probably this week. Hopefully.
Okay. It's worth it. Season 2 isn't as good as the first season, but it's still...
That's what I heard, but, if you have spoilers and stuff from, season 2, I don't care if you say it, because I still watch things regardless of spoilers.
I'm not talking much. There's not really much to talk about.
It was pretty cool.
It was cool, yeah. It was a cool way for the season to end and everything, so... But we'll go from there.
Some strange things happen.
Some strange things happen.
Strange things.
Now, here's some upsetting news. MoviePass has changed its plans for new and current subscribers. Now, for the past probably 8 or 9 months, Colton and I have been raving about MoviePass, how for $9.99 a month you can see up to 30 to 31 movies in a month.
Or 28.
Just a movie a day you could see with $9.99 a month. Now, I've been using it about 2 or 3 times a month. I think Colton's been about the same. I think there's been a couple months where I only saw one movie, but for the most part, $9.99 is a hell of a deal because you figure most movie theaters a ticket's $8 or $9 to begin with, so you make your money back pretty quickly with it. But MoviePass has changed its way of doing things now, so for current subscribers, the only change right now, while it still stays $9.99, you can still see as many movies as you want a month, up to that one a day, throughout the month. The problem is, you cannot see the same movie twice now. So if you're somebody who is hoping to go see Infinity War multiple times with your movie pass, you're shit out of luck.
Honestly, this is probably enough for me to contemplate quitting.
At this point, I'm gonna stick with it because it's rare that I see movies more than one time. And now finding out that our local movie theater, the tickets are only $5 tickets now, that's fine. If I want to see it a second or third time, I'll spend $5-10 to see it a second or third time. But for the most part, I don't mind because there's especially with summer. Next month where there's at least 2 big movies coming out in May.
Yeah, but then you can just spend the $5.
But these 2 movies I want to see on a nice screen. Like Solo and Deadpool. I want to see on a nice screen. But that's besides the point. For the new subscribers, the big difference is it's now $40 for new subscribers a month, and they bill you, I think, 6 months at a time.
Oh my gosh.
So it's $40 a month, and you're limited to 4 movies a month.
When it becomes that for us, I'm done.
Yeah, that's same with me. I'm not paying $40 a month.
That's ridiculous.
So, but it was something I knew wasn't going to last. It was too good to be true, so we at least got to soak up the...
Yeah, it was nice while it lasted.
While it lasted, so that was cool.
I was thinking about doing it. I think our theater, Cobb 16 down here in Gardens, accepts it. Not a lot, though, does down here from my understanding. I think it's just that one, so for me it was just kind of pointless.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes I like to go to AMC, which is, it's, I don't know, 20 minutes from here, and it's a very nice theater. Even though ours is really nice up here, we got bars right in our theaters. It's great down here. Not gonna lie.
It made my hand orange.
Oh wow.
So Star Wars news, which is kind of significant in my opinion. So Star Wars Rebels ended just a few months ago, even a couple months ago, and I mean, it got me crying. It hit the feels big time when that series ended. Now
I'm actually binging it. I'm in the middle of it.
The question has been, all right, what's going to happen now? Like, once Solo comes out in May, we technically have no new Star Wars until December of 2019. Like, what the heck are we going to do with that gap?
Are you talking about what I think you're going to talk about?
So, very interestingly enough, out of nowhere, seemingly, Lucasfilm announced that we are going to be getting a new Star Wars animated show that is going to be inspired by anime.
Yeah.
So it's going to be anime inspired.
That's in Star Wars talk, actually.
Yeah.
I have a lot in that.
Okay, we'll talk about it there too. But
I'm just saying.
It's going to be called Star Wars Resistance, which is kind of they did Star Wars Rebels, now they're doing Star Wars Resistance. Star Wars Resistance will focus on the era before Star Wars The Force Awakens, providing us with a look at the First Order's rise to power in the 30 years between the destruction of the Death Star and Return of the Jedi and the start of the new trilogy. The series will follow a young pilot by the name of Kazuto Xiono, who is recruited by the Resistance and tasked with a top secret mission to spy on the growing threat of the First Order.
You're the First Order.
Described as a high-flying adventure, it sounds like Resistance will target audiences of all ages. Will have a particular emphasis on space battles and good old-fashioned dogfighting. I'm kind of excited about it. It looks like they're going to get away from completely having any Jedi in it, though, but they may find a way to bring them in, because everybody thought Rebels weren't going to have any Jedi, and they did. So, it'd be interesting. I'm curious. Now, this starts this fall.
Mm-hmm. So it's been in the works.
It's been in the works for a while, but it's starting this fall, which is fantastic because, like I said, Solo comes out in May, and we weren't going to have anything Star Wars until December of 2019. So at least this gives us something in between to satisfy the Star Wars fans.
Regardless of how crappy it could be.
Hey, Dave Filoni's behind it. Dave Filoni was behind Clone Wars. He was behind Rebels. I have no. I have faith in it. I don't have fear that he's going to screw it up. My only concern is that they're going for that anime look and style, and I really don't like when most cartoons, like when they try to Americanize the anime. It's not always great.
How about Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Again, I said they're not always great.
Yeah, exactly. But it's Americans.
Give
me one shitty one.
Have faith.
Give me one shitty one.
Your mom.
Wow.
He doesn't have one, that's why.
Wow.
I don't, because I don't watch enough cartoons nowadays. But here's what I'm going to say. Look, there's a lot of cartoons on like Nickelodeon right now, and probably even Disney, because my kids watch them, and I can tell that it's inspired by anime. Just the way that the characters are drawn. I'm not saying that it's completely anime, but you can see it's inspired by anime. Even like the newer Ninja Turtles you can tell it's inspired by anime.
That's terrible.
And it just looks horrible. They look horrible. It's just bad art. So I'm worried about it for that reason. But again, I can get past the art as long as the story is good and the characters are interesting. So, going to jump to news from the multiverse, which is our comic news. We're going to be switching up some things here with how I label the news articles. So we got non-comic book related news.
I'm suspended in the air. Let me fall.
And then we have the news from the multiverse, which will cover all comic book related news. So we're jumping into the multiverse.
I was in the air for 45 seconds.
Jeez.
So on the television side of the multiverse, we see that Tommy Merlin is going to return to Arrow this week. Very interesting, because Tommy Merlin actually died in the season finale of season 1. So the fact that he's coming back, who is Oliver's best friend, and even at one time was Laura Lance's boyfriend and everything like that, the fact that he's returning, and it looks like he's going to be taking on the moniker of Green Arrow to help Oliver not be in prison, because there's a whole story going on there. I think it's interesting. I'm curious on how they're going to bring him back. Could it be a Tommy from another Earth, another universe, something like that? It's going to be interesting, but I'm curious on how that's going to go. Lauren Cohan, who plays Maggie on The Walking Dead, has signed on and will be returning for The Walking Dead Season 9.
No.
So we got that.
Save your career while you can.
I hate that show.
I wonder how much money she's getting paid now.
Probably $3 more.
All of the monies. Now, movies portion of the multiverse. Deadpool 2's MacGuffin. So Deadpool 2's MacGuffin, we've known for a while, is going to be that kid that we've seen in the trailers.
The fat one.
The fat one. But it's been a big area of debate, like, who is this kid? At least we now have maybe an idea because it looks like a tweet from Fox Singapore's Twitter account. His name will be Hot Stuff.
Nice.
So,
Hot Stuff?
yes,
Was that your name as a kid too?
It was.
Nice.
No,
Mine was
but-
Slim Shady. Yeah.
So we kind of got an idea. It's going to be Hot Stuff. Whether what kind of mutant power he has, you can kind of maybe guess off of that with maybe fire. I think we even see something in the trailer with him shooting fire out of his hands or something. So that's
Maybe
kinda,
he's like Jack from Incredibles. He just has all kinds of powers and he doesn't know what to do with them.
maybe. There was a tease of sorts shown of Aquaman at CinemaCon this past week. We have amazingly nothing leaked out, but from all reports,
Damn it!
it looks fantastic. So that's encouraging, because who doesn't want to see a little more Jason Momoa, shirtless
Right?
in the water?
I'm okay with this.
Dick hanging out. Yeah. Showing full butthole. Fuck yeah.
Let's see. The director of the new Mission Impossible film, Christopher McQuarrie, reveals he and Henry Cavill had talked about ideas for a Man of Steel 2. McQuarrie went on and stated, "I can't help but talk story to people. So he told me his take on Superman, and I thought it was really great, and I gave him my 2 cents. The tweet you're referring to is somebody asked, would you do it? And I said, hey, they know where to find me. Nobody's asked, but I'd be interested to see if Christopher McQuarrie gets home or gets nabbed to helm Man of Steel 2, because he just worked with Cavill on Mission Impossible Fallout, which looks fantastic. And why not? Why the hell not? I want a Man of Steel 2. And speaking
You're
of Man of Steel 2, speaking of it, Henry Cavill states that he hopes it gets made sooner rather than later. So that doesn't really say much, but he was asked about it.
Maybe he's excited for it.
No, I'm sure he is. Wonder Woman 2 director Patty Jenkins has confirmed that there will be a 1980s setting for Wonder Woman 2.
I'm interested in that. Because, the Cold War didn't really have any major conflicts.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
We all know my opinions on Wonder Woman.
We'll see what happens, because I'm looking forward to it. I want to say there was some breaking news today. There was a poster for Ant-Man and the Wasp released, and with a little announcement that we will be having a new trailer tomorrow, which is May 1st.
No surprise.
So there will be a trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp. They actually kind of did something cute with it. Yes, I say cute. Where they have all the actors and actors, not all of them, but a handful of the actors and actresses from Infinity War, and they're going, where was Ant-Man? Where was the Wasp? Oh, he was there. He was just really tiny and stuff. They're making fun of the fact that Ant-Man and Hawkeye.
Yeah, I just watched that a little bit ago. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, so it's interesting that they're playing on it and it's going to be fun. Now, Ant-Man and the Wasp, from all accounts, is going to actually take place before Infinity War, sometime after Civil War, between Infinity War. So
my money's riding on its ending right when everybody's
yeah, disappearing. Yeah.
Spoiler, of course.
Yeah. Oops, sorry. But
Oopsie.
yeah, for the most part, yeah, it's that's when it's going to take place, and we'll see what happens. Because, like you said, I think it's going to lead right into Infinity War, but we won't see him until Avengers 4, which rumor has it Avengers 4's title is going to be Endgame. However, that was
not really
confirmed by Marvel or Kevin Feige.
But it's not denied.
Basically, it was not denied, though. So we'll see. I don't think we're going to hear anything until the earliest Comic-Con.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a while.
The thing is Marvel, or the MCU Marvel side, does not have. They do not have a presence at Comic-Con this year. They're not going. So it'll be interesting if they find a way to sneak it into Comic-Con some way. But yeah, as of right now, there's technically, but just a rumor. All right, that's all for the news. I wanted to get that out of the way quickly because I want to get into the meat and potatoes of this episode.
The cock and balls.
The cock and balls. Which is our Avengers Infinity War review. Now, we're going to do a quick spoiler-free review where we just, give our thoughts and talk about it. But then we're going to just dive in and do a whole spoiler-filled review and talk about it for a while. So, if you haven't seen it, you can hear the non-spoiler, but then leave and then come back and listen to it after you watch the movie. I also want to quickly shout out Nerdtalkalypse and thank them for having us on their podcast this week.
We were there for a while.
It was a 3-hour-long podcast where we broke down Infinity War from beginning to end. We sat there with a round table. It was us, Nerdtalkalypse, and what was the other band? Or the other band? The other podcast called Spoiler something. I'm sorry, guys. If you're listening, I apologize. We'll make sure we get it right on the next show. But it was 3 different podcasts. We sat down and we just.
There was like 8 or 9 of us there.
There was a whole bunch of us in there talking. So it was a good time. We really discussed and broke down a lot of things from Infinity War.
I made like 4 or 5 dick jokes. I contributed.
Yeah, as always. As always.
Fucking Iron Spider, too.
So, I've already heard what you've thought about it, Colton, multiple times.
We've discussed this in the theater, after the theater, at work for 3 days, in the group.
So, Rachel, give us a non-spoiler review and then give us your rating out of 10.
Okay, non-spoiler review. All I can really say is the feels, and the feels. As far as rating goes, I don't know if I should rate it now or just wait until we get into the full spoiler thing, because there are some things about it that I'm kind of like, now that I get some time away from the theater and think about the movie, like I kind of have more like things that I feel like they could have changed. So like right now it's kind of like I'd say an 8.5 to a 9.
Okay.
You know. So but yeah, that's just how I feel about it.
Colton, what's your non-spoiler?
Well, okay, so I'm gonna kick a dead horse with you, but this will be new to Rachel and everybody else. That movie's a roller coaster. From beginning to end, it bends you over and gives it to you raw, both holes. It hits you high, it hits you low. The only slow point in the movie has so much emotion behind it that it's not even really a slow point.
Yeah.
Fucking Iron Spider. That the cast just it's action packed. It's beautifully shot. Thanos has a ball chin. And it's 2 hours and 46 minutes?
36.
36 minutes
Yeah.
of pure bliss.
Yeah. So out of 10, what do you give it?
I'm gonna give it like a 9.
Yeah. For me, I went into it, and obviously you all listen to the show. Hopefully you listen to it all the time. I have some issues with the MCU. I do. And it doesn't mean that I don't like the MCU, because I have gone to see almost every single movie in the theater with the exception of 1 or 2 of them. But my whole thing is I feel that it does have a lot of problems when it comes to their villains, when it comes to just the introduction to their characters and everything like that. Everything is so formulaic, and it's just the same old and just has been getting stale over the last few years. So I went into this with low expectations. I was excited for it, but not nearly as excited as, say, Rachel or Colton was.
Dude, fucking Iron Spider.
Colton was freaking out about Iron Spider for weeks, and I know Rachel...
I literally pushed my girlfriend out the door to get to this movie theater an hour before it started.
And I know Rachel...
Sorry, Nicole. Sorry.
You and I have talked about Infinity War multiple times in the past. I know how excited you were for it. So my expectations, well, again, I was excited to see it. I wanted to hold my expectations low because of how disappointed I was in the past with MCU films. So going into that, I think that was a great thing for me because I was completely blown away. This movie is so fast-paced, it's action-packed, it's edge of your seat. You're sitting there constantly guessing what is going to happen next, and not because you're bored with it and like, oh, what the hell is going to happen next? No, you're like, I need to know what's happening next because this shit is insane. And that's literally what the movie does to you. And the way it starts off with a bang, and it just moves so quickly from that point on. Now, I've seen it twice. The first time, it moved fast for me. The second time, I could actually see the first half of the movie was a bit slower than I remembered it from the first time seeing it, but it makes sense. It working and running as slow as it did. And I'm not saying it was slow in any regard. Compared to the second half of the movie, yeah, it's slow, but it's not a drag because it really gets moving and it's really pushing the story along forward. Some great things are surprises. I can guarantee 90% of the people who love the MCU, if you haven't seen the movie yet, shame on you, but 90% of you who like the MCU will not expect some of these surprises that happen in this movie. And to me, that's so extremely important because, like I said, these films have become so predictable and formulaic that we needed something to change it up a little bit, and this movie did that. It brought it. Like Rachel said, the feels, because yes, you will get feels multiple times in this, and I'm not going to say why in the non-spoiler section, but there are many times where you're going to sit there and just be flabbergasted because you're going to be like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
So this movie, fantastic. Go see it if you haven't yet. I mean, it's made all of the money in the world right now. It has surpassed The Force Awakens, which made $248 million in its first 3 days. This has made $258 million in its first 3 days. So that's domestically, which is fantastic. It is now the highest grossing film domestically in the first 3 days, an opening weekend of all time.
I don't think that record will ever be touched.
Dude, right now Avengers 4.
Part 2.
Avengers 4 is gonna blow it out of the water. I'm telling you, it's going to.
You're gonna say that?
I'm saying it too.
300. I'm telling you right now, it'll make $300 million.
Nope. Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, my ass.
No.
Think about it though.
No,
everybody's riding that high from Infinity War. You want more Marvel.
Yeah, but
I think Deadpool would probably be more than Ant-Man and Wasp.
Yeah, I agree. Deadpool's going to be more than Ant-Man and Wasp, and Deadpool's going to barely make 200 its opening weekend. I guarantee it.
Oh.
Anyway,
Titanic's coming back to the theaters. It's going to reclaim the fucking title.
Titanic 2.
Anyway,
Titanic 2, sing fucking harder, beach.
My rating for it, I'm actually going to give it an 8. I'm having trouble giving it a 9. Even though the second time I watched it, it was better than the first time I watched it, I'm still going to stick with an 8 because, to me, like the perfect film in the MCU is The Winter Soldier. That movie, to me, is perfect from start to finish. It pushed the genre somewhere where we've never seen it go before. It really grounded the universe, and I love the character development. I love everything about that movie. So to me, that is the perfect MCU movie. So to surpass that, which in my eyes is ranked is a number 10 for the MCU, and then Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy is such an amazing movie. It's a fun time. It's very close second is Guardians of the Galaxy, but Infinity War is a very close third to Guardians of the Galaxy. So I'm sure when I watch Infinity War more and more, I'll start flip-flopping between Guardians and Infinity War, for second and third. But here's the thing, like, those top 3 MCU movies are so far ahead of 4, 5, and 6, and so on.
Yeah, that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, those are the top 3 movies, and rightfully so. And my biggest concern going into this was the Russo brothers, because I believe, and I know, Rachel, you're going to get upset at this, but they fucked up Civil War. Civil War was not good. So
I just heard a brick get thrown. Give it about 45 minutes. It's going to hit you in the back of the head.
But, I was worried because we haven't seen a director or a team of directors have a successful sequel in the MCU. And I'm not saying successful financially. I'm saying successful in being a good movie. Jon Favreau, unfortunately, wasn't able to make Iron Man 2 as good as the first one. It wasn't great. James Gunn flubbed up on Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and in my opinion, the Russos flubbed up with Civil War. So that was my worry. They blew it out of the water. Like, they did a fantastic job.
From Nicole's standpoint, my girlfriend had never watched a Marvel film.
Yeah.
Black Panther kind of fell asleep halfway through it. Actually said she wanted to see that movie again and get into the Marvel universe. So that should speak for the film in and of itself. To get someone who's nowhere near interested in it to actually want to get involved. That's how solid of a film Infinity War is.
Yeah. So, I mean...
that speaks.
And I can't wait to have my mom watch this because she loved The Winter Soldier. Like, that is what got my mom into wanting to know the MCU. And the fact that I'm saying this is up there with that, I think she's going to love it. And
she didn't see it?
Infinity War? No, my mom hasn't seen it yet.
Really?
So
I know she normally goes with you and your kids.
Yeah, my kids. I took my kids on Sunday, and my 2 boys loved it. And it was actually funny because after the movie, I looked at my son and I thought he was crying. And I'm not going to get into spoilers on anything like that, but I thought he was crying, and he wasn't. But he was at
distraught.
At 6 and 8 years old, these 2 boys were just like, what the hell? Like, holy crap, So, but that's all for the non-spoilers.
You get this one time to say a cuss word. You get this one time because I don't even blame you.
I think I said many.
But so that's it for non-spoilers. Again, if you haven't seen the movie, I know I don't like kicking people off the podcast because I want you guys to listen and hear us and everything like that.
But this movie should not be spoiled.
This movie before we get into the spoilers,
yeah,
so get going.
Exactly.
What the hell are you waiting for? I'm sure there's a 10 o'clock showing going on right now. Go.
Yeah, don't spoil this before you see it because it is so worth it not knowing anything going into it.
Yeah.
So
I was on Facebook for 2 days because I was like, no one's gonna do this to me. I'm gonna watch it and nobody's gonna spoil it.
All right, so spoilers are gonna start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Speed, marker, action.
All right, so
The feels.
if you're not gone, it's your own damn fault. So, Rachel, Colton,
Fucking Iron Spider, yo. Fucking Iron Spider.
all right, so as I said, the story fast-paced. This movie doesn't let off the gas for nearly the entire 2 hours and 36 minutes. The Soul Stone part might be the most calm part in the film.
Yeah, and even then it's not.
But because even though it's so slow, it still gets your blood pumping because it's so emotional. It does take a huge emotional turn, and it completely makes up for the pace and it slowing down. Even if, in my opinion, it was a bit predictable, not the surprise cameo, but how to get the stone. And the surprise cameo.
Well, yeah, we're in spoiler.
I was like, wait a minute, who's the surprise cameo? And then I'm like, oh wait, no, I know. Now I know. Wait.
Completely fucking blew me away.
We all knew he was going to be in
it.
it. We didn't know it was that, though.
Yeah, and
we're referring to Red Skull.
Red Skull, yeah. Red Skull showing up was fan-fucking-tastic. I fangirled out so hard.
You fangirled
I think everybody did.
on par with me with Iron Spider.
Yeah, it was crazy because the second time I went to watch the movie, I got to sit back a little bit. I got to sit back and kind of take in the audience at that moment because it's such a big moment. And literally, I sat back right at that moment, and all of a sudden, it's revealed it's Red Skull, and all you hear is, you literally hear everybody breathe in, holy crap, that's Red Skull. It was pretty phenomenal. Bravo to the Russos and Kevin Feige and MC and Marvel for being able to hide it as well as they did. Like I said, I had a feeling we were going to have to find out about him in this movie, but the fact that it was not even hinted at by anybody until the movie.
Yeah, he was just speculation.
Yeah. He just was there.
Yeah,
He's like, yo.
No, what's his name? Hugo Weaving. Who played him? Yeah, Hugo Weaving played him, right? Was that who played him in Captain America?
I think so.
First
I think
Avenger?
so.
We've thrown around both names basically all day.
He did not reprise the role. However, Ross Marquand from Marquand. There we go. Ross Marquand from The Walking Dead. He plays Aaron on The Walking Dead. Actually stepped into the role of Red Skull, and the crazy thing is he sounded just like him. He sounded perfectly, and Ross Marquand is an impressionist, so he can do the different voices of celebrities and stuff like that. So it worked out perfectly, and it was funny. We're on Nerdtalkalypse, and one of the guests on there for our roundtable was like, I was just at Steel City Con not too long ago, and Ross Marquand, he was there. Nobody was at his table though, and I made the joke. I was like, "Yeah, everybody's gonna be at his fucking table from now on because
he's not even gonna be at
he's
Steel
Red
City
Skull.
Con."
So it was amazing the fact that they brought him back. I'm hoping that it explores more with him and he gets out of being on that planet and coming out and being more and maybe eventually facing off with Captain America again or something like that. I would love to see it.
I kind of would like to see a kind of like a standalone-ish type thing for him.
Cool. Again, like I said, edge of your seat. The movie has you guessing constantly where it's going to go next. And again, there were a few areas that I felt were a little predictable, but there were things that just shocked the hell out of me too.
Yeah, there was. You can't walk into that theater expecting all of your predictions to be right.
So 15 characters died in this movie? 15?
Something around there.
So the
15 main
like
ones. Half the universe.
Yeah, and then half the universe. The beginning of the movie, though, Rachel, I've been very curious to get your opinion on this because right when it happened, I was like, literally, you popped into my head right when it happened. So, first, you see Heimdall die, and that kind of hit me because I really like Heimdall, and I thought he's been a great character. And but but
before that, you see Hulk get his ass kicked.
You see Hulk get his ass kicked, but which was cool to see. But I kind of saw it coming. But Heimdall dying, was unfortunate because first off, he didn't go he didn't go out like a bitch. Like he still impacted the movie because of helping
Hulk get
back to Earth.
But when he died, that was holy shit! They just killed somebody. Within the first few minutes, they just killed somebody. Holy shit!
The cue for me was when they didn't play the Marvel theme during the Marvel Studios thing.
Oh yeah.
The somber music. I was like, oh fuck.
Shit was going down.
I was like, damn it.
But here's the thing. When they killed Heimdall, I was like, holy shit! He was an important part of Ragnarok. His storyline in Ragnarok was really important. And then they just kill him in the first 3 minutes of Infinity War, which was insane. But
there's more.
There's more. You know,
That's all.
but like I said last week, I was like, we need to find out Loki's allegiance. Like that is
Yeah.
the biggest thing. Like I'm sick of the back and forth between is he, good guy, is he bad guy, is he good guy, is he bad guy? I think it's been played out. So I wanted to find out in this movie if he was going to be good or bad, and we kind of did. Even if it was with his final breath.
Did we though?
So how did you feel about that, Rachel? Because I know you've been a big Loki fan. How did you feel about them killing him off? In such a brutal fashion.
See, my thing with it is he really dead? I mean, he is the god of mischief, first and foremost.
Well,
and
they basically...
He could have did like what he did in Thor Dark World and found another body and kind of disguised, and found a way out of that ship before Thanos came. Because at the end of Ragnarok, you see Thanos' ship. Loki knows what Thanos' ship looks like. So if I was Loki, I'd be like, oh, fuck, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But the interesting part about it is, one, the Tesseract. He had the Tesseract. So we know that's Loki because he was able to bring the Tesseract out and give it to him. He knew about it.
Right,
Two,
right.
He says there's going to be no, what does he say? No revival.
You're not going to get revived this time, or something along those lines.
He says something. Yeah,
right.
Thanos says that. Like he snaps his fucking neck, his eyes bulge out of his head, and he just falls to the ground.
This was a very adult Marvel movie.
Very dark, and I couldn't believe it. Like I said, Rachel, like you were the first thing that popped in my head. I was like, oh shit, Rachel's gonna lose it.
Did you cry?
My eyes watered. I didn't fully cry because I kind of just felt like I knew it was gonna happen because he has betrayed and failed Thanos so many times.
Mm-hmm.
With the Chitauri and getting the Tesseract back, and then just, probably not reporting in, and then, trying to kill him, right there on the ship.
Yeah.
So I kind of just felt like that was gonna happen.
Yeah, but then, after that happens, we get taken to New York City, where Heimdall sent Hulk.
Yeah.
And,
which now is Bruce Banner.
And he transforms back into Bruce Banner, into whatever the sanctum,
the sanctuary,
sanctum, whatever it's called, where Doctor Strange is, chilling out, and he falls, he just busts through the ceiling and through the stairs, and he's laying there, and he's like, Thanos is coming, and they're like, who are you? Like
yeah.
what are you doing here? And he's like, then they go and they get Tony. Now, very interesting thing here, because last week, I believe I brought up how I thought Tony was going to be exiting the Marvel Universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Right.
said...
Well, not necessarily exiting.
Well, not completely, but stepping aside from a main role within the MCU. And I said, you know what's going to happen? The only way, because nobody else has been able to get him to step out of being Iron Man. You know what's going to get him to step out? Having a child. And that moment in the movie when he's like, I had a dream and we were pregnant. And Pepper's like, we were pregnant. I was like, holy shit, they're going to go that route. And I guarantee by the end of Avengers 4 or something like that, Pepper will be pregnant and Tony will step aside. This is all a build-up to that moment. So
right.
The fact that as of right now, it looks like I guessed that right. Pretty pumped about that. So, but anyway, so you see Tony has reinstalled an arc reactor within his chest, which is, whoa, what did he do that for? Pepper's upset about it, but it looks like that is and we see later on that it's what holds his bleeding edge armor.
Nanotechnology!
Which is badass, that technology. That suit was so awesome. But, Doctor Strange comes and gets him, and Bruce Banner tells Tony all about Thanos, what happened, what's going to happen. And I'm telling you, this movie just goes, and it just doesn't stop. Like, you find that out, and, they're like, you should probably call Steve, and, Tony's like, yeah, Banner, you don't really know what happened. Like, we don't talk anymore. The Avengers
been a
broke
couple
up.
years.
So, like the Beatles?
Yeah. So, right before he goes to call Steve, as he's contemplating calling Steve, a couple of the Black Order, or Thanos' children, or the children of Thanos, show up. Ebony Maw and...
Obsidian, or Call Obsidian.
Show up. And, they go out and they face him, and it's a badass fight.
Yeah.
But what's really cool is we finally got our first taste of Spidey sense.
Yeah.
Because Peter Parker's on a bus going across a bridge, and he gets a tingling feeling. You see the hair stand up on his arms, and he looks at his buddy and he's like, "Hey man, you gotta cause a distraction." And he looks, he's like, "Oh fuck, we're all gonna die!"
Perfect distraction.
Stanley's little cameo right there was great
Yeah.
too.
He's like, "What? You guys have never seen an alien ship before?" So, Peter Parker then, jumps out of the bus and he goes swinging away towards the fight. But you see, basically Tony Stark and Bruce Banner and Doctor Strange and Wong. They're all standing there like, okay, we're gonna take on these guys. And Tony's like, all right, Bruce, it's time to let out your little friend. And he just can't do it. Like, he's trying. And he's like, we're going through some stuff right now.
Yeah, Hulk's like, fuck this shit. I saw what Thanos did to me.
Yeah. So it's he's unable to do it. So Doctor Strange throws him into a park, opens up a portal, throws him into the park. Like, if you can't bring him out, you're gone. Like, see ya.
Yeah.
And gets rid of him. But that's the moment we see Tony Stark's bleeding edge technology for his suit and the nanotech, and it's just so badass.
Beautiful the way they did it. I'm just still in awe over it.
So they start fighting it, and obviously the Black Order is there to get the Eye of Agamotto, whatever, the time,
the Stone of Domo Arigato, Mr. Roboto.
But
the Time Stone.
Yeah, the Time Stone. They're there to get the Time Stone, which Doctor Strange holds around his neck. Tony keeps telling him, you need to get the hell out of here with that. But he's like, no, I refuse to. I'm going to sit here and fight. Well, he goes up against Ebony Maw, which is also, he's a telekinetic, so he's just doing this shit, effortlessly, throwing stuff and everything. It was fantastic.
No effort at all.
So,
the fight scene was just beautifully done. I was, sitting there at the edge of my seat the whole time, oh my god.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I clenched my ass any tighter during this film, you could have put a piece of coal up there and I would have made it a diamond.
So that whole fight happens, everything like that. Peter Parker shows up and tries to help, but they capture Doctor Strange because Doctor Strange put an enchantment curse on his necklace, so Ebony Maw could not take it. So Ebony Maw's like, I'll pry it from your dead body. So he's like, whatever, fine, whatever. So he takes him up to his spaceship, and Peter Parker, is hanging on, and by his webbing, and Tony, flies up there, and he's like, okay, it's getting too high. He's not able to breathe, and Tony's like, you got to let go. We're getting too high up. You can't breathe. And Peter's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Just as he begins to pass out. Moments before that, Tony requests something from Avengers. Base, their home operations, and it comes flying towards him, and he goes, Peter, just fall, I'll catch you. Well, right as he falls, that whatever he called comes up and opens up, and it's the Iron Spider suit.
Motherfucking Iron Spider, yeah.
And then, Tony's like, he tells Friday to just, send him home, and it opens up a parachute, and he goes flying back, but later on you find out that he just thought about shooting Webb, and he shot Webb and attached to the ship, and they go in outer space, essentially.
Yeah.
After that point, we then get introduced to the Guardians of the Galaxy again.
Mm-hmm.
And they're on their way because they get a distress call from an Asgardian ship, and they just want to go make some money.
You're an Asgard.
And steal the ship.
and steal the ship if they don't get paid. So they get there, and they see that everybody's dead. Like, what happened? They're trying to figure out what happened. And then just as they're sitting there questioning what happened, boom, Thor hits the windshield of their ship, and his eye opens. So they pull him in, and they're looking at him. He's still passed out, and he's laying there. And there's some funny interactions with Drax and everybody.
You just motivated me to get a Bowflex.
He's like, who's this dude? And Drax is like, he's not a dude. You're a dude. He's a man, or he's a man.
He's a dude.
This right here is a man.
He's a dude.
It wasn't funny last one.
You're a dude. We're all dudes. Fuck if it was funny or not. I enjoyed it.
I love that part. That was great.
Yeah, so that's funny. But then you see Gamora rubbing his muscles, and he's like, Star-Lord's like, hey, stop rubbing his muscles or something like that. So the comedy aspect was there, and that's something that was great about this movie is, there was comedy throughout, but it fit.
It wasn't distasteful.
Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't forced. I kind of feel like Ragnarok was a little forced, even though I thoroughly enjoyed that movie.
But yeah, like you said, it fit perfectly. Everything fit well within the movie, especially from the joke side of things. Especially with the Guardians. The Guardians had some of the best jokes in the movie, and it worked fine. But through it, I mean, what else? So yeah, Thor wakes up and he tells them what happened, and who was Drax says that Thanos is Gamora's father. So there's a little funny part there because you think Thor's gonna freak out, but he's just like, family. I feel your pain.
Yeah, he's like, I feel it. I feel it, man.
He's like, my father just told me, that I had an evil sister and I had to kill her, and my brother was evil once, so.
And he just died. And
yeah.
half my race is gone.
So yeah, that was pretty interesting.
Not half all.
Yeah, all of his race is gone. Of course, we still don't know where Valkyrie is because Valkyrie was on the ship at the end of Ragnarok, so we don't know where.
Did.
What?
She did.
Maybe not.
She did.
Watch her come back and like Ant-Man and the Wasp in a post-credit scene or some shit. You heard it here first. Potential spoiler.
But you find out here that that Thor he wants to go create another weapon, and I can't remember the name of the planet he has to go to. Hold on a second here, I got it.
For
Nidavellir.
Yeah, for the Black Star.
Yeah, Nidavellir. He wants to go and create a new weapon because that's where Mjolnir was forged. So he wants to go create a new weapon that is a Thanos killing weapon.
Yes.
So he, Rocket, and Groot go off to get this weapon made, while Mantis, Star-Lord, Gamora, and Drax head to Nowhere. With a K, Nowhere, where the Collector was, because he has, which stone does he have? The Reality Stone. So they want to go and get the Reality Stone before Thanos makes his way there and gets it. So that goes there. Then where do we go from there? Then I think we go back to Peter, don't we? And everybody,
yeah.
Peter and Tony.
Yeah.
They're on the ship, and while they're on the ship, they have to try and rescue Doctor Strange from Ebony Maw, because Ebony Maw is still there, torturing Doctor Strange. So Peter comes up, he shows up and he surprises Tony because he wasn't supposed to be there. Tony's like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "I don't know, I just thought of shooting web and it shot web and I brought me on here, blah blah blah," kind of thing. So he's like, "All right, but we need to find a way to save Doctor Strange. So what do you have in mind?" And Peter's like, "Hey, have you ever seen that really old movie Aliens?" So then they they use the trick from Aliens where they well, in this case they blasted a hole in the side of the ship where Ebony Maw gets sucked out of it and sucked into space, and he dies. So they save Doctor Strange, and at this point they're trying to figure out, okay, what is our next move? Do we go back to Earth and protect Earth, or Doctor Strange is like, "Look, I need to protect this, so we need to get as far away from Thanos as possible." And Tony's like, "Oh, now you want to fucking run?" But it's kind of like, no, we need to figure out, because we need to surprise Thanos. We need to do something that would.
Do we want to fight on our turf or surprise him on his?
So and Tony comes up with the idea. He's like, "Look, if we go to Titan, if we go there, Thanos isn't going to be expecting it. He's been one step ahead of us, this entire time here. He's a step ahead of us all this time because he knows what he's doing. He won't know what we're doing. He won't know that we're going to be there to face him." So they continue to head toward Titan. We go back to Earth and we see.
There's a lot of jumping around in this film, by the way.
We see Black Panther and Akuya, whatever.
I'm awful with names.
Yeah, they go and they find
my boy
Bucky and.
And they call him the White Wolf.
Your boy, Skinny Penis.
And they give him a new arm made out of vibranium, which is kind of exciting. So they do that, and he's like, "Where's the fight?" And he's like, "It's coming soon," or something like that. There's a little bit. But then it jumps again away from that. Oh no, actually, I completely missed one scene. Shit. There's a scene where Scarlet Witch and Vision are in Scotland.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
right.
because...
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. I was like, wait a minute, I think that happened before that.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Which is it's a very interesting thing because this is the first time we're seeing the two of them together and in love.
I know, and I'm so happy.
And it's really touching how they feel about each other. And they're walking through the streets of Scotland, and they're like, Vision's like, "What if I don't go back? What if it's just you and I just stay together?" Like, and that's kind of how they're talking about just running away from, their issues and just being together. And at that moment, Proxima Midnight, or whatever her name is.
Yeah, one of them.
Calibus or Kayla, I can't remember their names. Two more of the children of Thanos. The Black Order show up, and one stabs Vision right in the stomach, and he can't phase. Like he can't. And at this point, he's pretty much incapacitated. So Scarlet Witch is taking on these two, villains essentially. Now Vision is fighting a little bit as best as he can, but not very well.
But he's basically bitching out.
Yeah, and they're fighting, but it gets to the point where it looks like, okay, all is lost. They're gonna lose this. They're gonna get Vision and get the stone out of his head.
Lo and behold,
probably one of the best reveals in the entire movie besides Red Skull is right behind a train
is the Avengers theme.
Is the Avengers theme, yes. When that theme played right there, holy shit, dude, did I get chills, because it was Steve Rogers just standing there like, what up, bitches?
My boy!
And
he's like, what's up, bitches? It's your average boy skinny penis.
So he
used to call people skinny penis.
Sorry, average penis.
So
I think he's more than average.
Him, Black Widow, and the Falcon take on the Black Order, the two from the Black Order that are there, and they rescue Vision and Scarlet Witch. And they get on the ship, and they're like, where are we going? And they're like, we're going to go home. And at first, like, when you're first watching it, I thought, oh, home is Wakanda, because we've seen them on Wakanda so much. But no, home is home. Like Avengers, like the home base of the Avengers. Like, they're going there. So that's an interesting thing. So they make their way there. Once they get there, Rhodey is there talking with General
with the UN.
What the hell's his name? General Ross. General Ross. He's talking to General Ross about what's going on, and as they walk in, General Ross is like, arrest them, and Rhodey's like, yeah, sure, and he just shuts off the video, and he's like, that's a court-martial. Yeah. So Bruce Banner shows up, he's there, and they're like, hey, what's going on? And there's a weird, awkward moment between Bruce and Natasha. And
the feels.
They talk more about Thanos there. They learn about Thanos, and they're like, okay, where can we protect Vision? And they're like, and Steve is like, I have an idea how we can, protect him and get the stone out of his head, because Bruce is like, hey, I have an idea to get the stone out of his head, but I can't do it. And Steve is like, I think I know somebody who can. So they head off to Wakanda. Back to the Guardians. So the Guardians that went to Nowhere show up on Nowhere, and when they get there, they see Thanos is with the Collector, threatening the Collector to collect the Reality Stone. And, Drax pretty much is like, oh, I'm just going to go in for it, just go attack him and stuff like that. And they stop him, they put him to sleep, he falls down.
Wait. Before that, don't forget there's that moment between Gamora and Star-Lord.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
on the ship.
You can't forget about that. That's
Promise me you'll kill me.
Yeah, she requests Star-Lord to kill her because she knows something that if Thanos gets that information, it's not good. So she said, look, if he captures me, promise me you'll kill me. And it takes him a while. He's reluctant, but he goes, okay, I'll do it. And so then they get to Nowhere, and they go, and, they basically, things happen where Gamora goes and attacks Thanos, and it looks like she kills him. Like, she slits his throat, stabs him in the chest, and you're like, holy shit.
And you're like, wow, this was anticlimactic.
Yeah. But then you find out that it was just all an illusion, because he has the Reality Stone already, and he created a reality around them, because he knew that eventually Gamora was going to show up. Now, another thing that happened in the movie is there's a flashback earlier in the movie where you see Thanos taking Gamora as his daughter. He's on Gamora's planet, and he's destroying half of the civilization on the planet, but he decides to keep Gamora as his own. And you see that happen, and you kind of see the relationship starting between them. So when he stabs her, or when she stabs him, she stabs him with a knife that he gave her, which was kind of, a little poetic, I guess. But again, it wasn't him. It was just, false reality that they were seeing. And
it wasn't him. If you don't know, you know.
So he captures her, and Star-Lord jumps out with a gun pointed at Thanos, and she's like, Gamora's like, you promised me, like you promised. And he shifts his gun down to Gamora, and they
confess their love for each other.
Yeah, they confess their love for each other, and Thanos is like, he won't do it. He won't do it.
No balls.
No balls. Yeah, he's like, no balls. He won't do it.
No balls.
But he does. He actually presses the trigger. But again, with the Reality Stone,
it's just bubbles.
It's just bubbles. It's a bubble gun. So he then looks at Star-Lord and he goes, "I like you," and then just goes through a portal and leaves Nowhere.
I mean, it could technically be his future son-in-law.
It could be.
Yeah.
So,
So
good impression, I suppose.
yeah. I don't even know where we're at this point.
So you are at when they go for the Soul Stone. They go back onto Thanos' ship.
Oh yeah, so Thanos and Gamora go into Thanos' ship and they're sitting there talking and blah blah blah, and he's like, "Look, I know that you know where the Soul Stone is," and she's like, "I don't know. I've never found it. Like, I don't know. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't know." And he walks into another room with her, and in that room is Nebula. And at first you're like, "Hey, it's Nebula. She's just captured, and hanging in midair, but she's captured, okay." But as the camera kind of shifts, you see that she's been pulled apart, piece by piece, and she's just sitting there, and she's like, this, your sister snuck on board and tried to kill me. This is her punishment, blah blah blah. That's what Thanos is saying, and he's like, "Look, tell me where the Soul Stone is. I know you know where it's at." And she's like, Gamora's like, "I don't know where it is," and he goes, "That's interesting because I never taught you how to lie."
Mm-hmm.
And
that's why you were never good at it.
Yeah, and that's why you're never good at it. And there's a recording that Nebula has because of her partially being an android, essentially. She's able to record conversations, and it's a recording from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when Gamora and Nebula are talking about Thanos and how, he's never going to get the Soul Stone because, why? Because I found the map and I burned it to ash and stuff like that. And it's like, shit. So Thanos is like, "You're going to take me to it." And she's like, "I won't. I'll never do it." And he starts to torture Nebula, and she gives up. She's like, "Okay, fine, I'll take you there," to save Nebula. She does that. So they then go to the planet of
Varamir.
Or
Vormir or something.
Vormir.
To go get the Soul Stone. And this is one of the most badass scenes in the movie because of the big reveal of Red Skull. The Red Skull reveal was awesome, because he's the one there protecting the Soul Stone, and he's like, I came a lifetime ago, and I was sent here by one of the stones, and now my punishment is that I can never,
I can never get what I want.
Yeah, and everybody else gets it. So he goes, "But you must know that in order to receive the Soul Stone, one must sacrifice one that they love.
A soul for a
soul. A soul for a soul, essentially." And Gamora starts laughing like, "Ha, all this time, you're not going to get what you want because you don't love anybody." And he turns around and he's crying, and there's tears in his eyes. And she goes, "Really? Tears?" And Red Skull's like, "They're not for him." And that's, like, oh shit, it's for her,
Yeah.
And that was kind of the build-up with, seeing how she became the daughter of Thanos and everything like that. Like, he truly cared for her. And in order to get what he wanted, he was like, "Look, I cannot, I failed my mission once before. I can't allow anything to get in my way now, and not even you." And he grabs her and throws her off a ledge and kills her. So,
and you see the body.
Yeah, you see the body all mangled at the bottom of the cliff. And he gets the Soul Stone.
Like that scene right there, I cried.
Really?
I did. I'm not gonna lie, I cried. I love Gamora.
I didn't cry. Like, I like Gamora's character, but I didn't cry there. Actually, I didn't cry the entire movie. I felt the feels a lot of times, but I didn't cry the entire. No, of all people, I'm not afraid to admit if I cried during a movie. So
I didn't feel any sort of remorse at any point in time during this movie.
But what do you think, Rachel? Do you think Gamora's soul is in the Soul Stone? There's a rumor going around that that's what happened, that her soul is put into the Soul Stone.
I was under the impression that anybody dies, their soul goes into the Soul Stone. I don't think it really has to pertain to just one person who was sacrificed for the Soul Stone. Because I feel as if, I think I was reading it somewhere online about, like, what the Soul Stone can really do, and, like, it's pretty much bring back somebody. Or make, like, the dead rise.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of feel like maybe it's everybody's, soul that's in it who has passed, regardless of, power, non-power.
Yeah. But anyway, so he gets the Soul Stone. So at this point, we find out that, okay, he got the Power Stone.
From Xandar.
He got that from Xandar. He destroyed Xandar prior to the events of Infinity War and got the Power Stone. He's got the Soul Stone.
Tesseract.
And he
got second.
Yeah, he got the Tesseract. He's got the Soul Stone. And now and he also has a Reality Stone. So it's 4 of the 6 stones that he has already at this point in the movie. So we then jump back to Tony and everybody on Titan at this point, and they're like, hey, we got to set up a plan to stop him, so what are we going to do? But, oh, wait, I forgot the introduction of the Guardians. The Guardians show up on Titan.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, after they go to nowhere, they make their way to Titan, and they come into contact. So it's Star-Lord, Drax, Mantis show up, and they take on Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and Iron Man. And there's a neat little fight going on there. There's some comedic parts there, but this is where you start to see the comedic factor between Tony and Peter Quill and Star-Lord come into play. So it's really interesting there. But I
did like the Footloose reference, because he was like he defended the Earth by doing a dance off, and then
Peter Parker's like Footloose?
Like Footloose?
Exactly.
Is it still the greatest movie of all time? And Peter Parker's like, it never was.
That was great. I love that part.
Yeah, so they're there, and they all decide to come up with a plan on how to stop Thanos. And at this point in time, Doctor Strange is over utilizing the Time Stone, going ahead in time, and seeing all the different outcomes that could come of facing Thanos. Bless you.
Bless you.
So he goes, I've seen 14,506 ways that, the outcome.
I've seen at least 4 ways.
And Tony's like, well,
yeah, he still didn't spoil the movie.
And Tony's like, well, how many did we, come out victorious? Or maybe it was Peter that said that. And Doctor Strange goes, 1. So now we're like, okay, so he must know the one way to be victorious, so that's the way that they're going to do it, right? You would think. So
lo and behold,
they decide to come up with a plan for when Thanos arrives. And honestly, I'm going to kind of go out of order here because this is like the last half of the movie and things just happen like crazy.
Yeah, you get on the fuck train and you don't get off for another hour and 15 minutes or so.
So at that point, it kind of cuts to Wakanda. We go back to Wakanda. We see Steve and everybody show up with Vision. They talk to Shuri like, hey, Shuri, blah, 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 can you do this for Vision?
A little bit of bromance.
You see, little Bucky and Steve bromance and stuff like that. But they're all preparing for a war that's coming because they know that they're going to be coming for Vision. So T'Challa gets all of the clans of Wakanda together to fight this battle against the incoming forces.
Basically an apocalyptic war.
Yeah. So they all get ready to take on the children of Thanos, while Shuri works on removing the Soul Stone or not the Soul Stone, the Mind, not the Mind Stone. What stone is that? Whatever.
It's the Mind Stone, I think.
But is it the Mind?
Visions?
Yeah.
Yes, this is the Mind
So
Stone.
they're going to she's going to utilize her abilities to remove the stone from his head. So as that battle's about to go on, Thanos shows up on Titan. And as Thanos shows up on Titan, shit's about to hit the fan there as well. Then you have what's going on with Rocket, Thor, and Groot, and they make it to Nidavellir to take and create this new weapon. But they find out that
Peter Dinklage, who grew about 12 feet.
I know!
Peter Dinklage, the giant midget, shows up there, and you find dwarf, whatever.
Giant dwarf.
Same thing. Anyways, they get there and they find out that Thanos was there and had the gauntlet created with the same, forging mechanics as Mjolnir and everything like that. But the star has been shut off, so, creating anything there is impossible unless the star is restarted. Plus, Peter Dinklage is the only dwarf left alive there. Every other one was killed by Thanos. And Thanos left him alive and said, look, your life is yours, but your hands are mine. So he covered his hands in metal, so he can't really do anything with his hands at all. So it was up to Thor to restart the sun, to get the sun started so they could melt the metal to create Stormbreaker. And that's kind of what he goes. He takes on, he has to hold open the vents.
You see it in the trailers.
Yeah,
the forge.
The forge. He has to open up the forge, and he takes the full brunt of a star, as it creates
for minutes.
For a couple minutes, and the new hammer Stormbreaker is created. However, Peter Dinklage can't find the handle. He's like, "Where's the handle? He needs a handle." And he's running around trying to find the handle, but Groot just walks over. He's like,
"I am Groot."
And he kind of uses his arm and creates a new handle for it. Creates a handle for it, so it looks really cool. So Stormbreaker's created, and it gives Thor more powers than he's had before, which we'll get to shortly. So, back on Titan.
That sounded like we used the soundboard. I'm sorry.
Thanos is, taking on the Avengers that are on Titan, so Tony, Spider-Man, well, really they're the only two Avengers there, but Strange, Star-Lord, all of them, and they come up with a plan.
No. Well, I love we missed the part about when he finally said that Peter is an Avenger.
Well, that was before they
that
even
was
got
great.
to Titan. Yeah.
I know, but
that's actually how you get on the podcast. We knight you exactly like that.
So he So, they come up with the idea of, okay, we need to incapacitate him as best as we can, get Mantis to jump on his shoulders and mind control him, put him to sleep essentially so we can pull the glove off his hand and get the fuck out of here. That was the plan that they had. However, when they do that, Nebula shows up and starts helping because she escapes his ship in a very interesting way, but she escapes and goes to Titan and attacks Thanos from there, and she jumps in on the fight. However, they finally get him incapacitated enough, and Star-Lord's like, where's Gamora? And Nebula's like, he took Gamora to get the Soul Stone, and Gamora's no longer here. Like, put two and two together, buddy.
She's dead.
And Star-Lord's like, you can't have done it, and Thanos is like, I had to, and Peter freaks the fuck out. Star-Lord just starts like punching him and kicking him and shit like that, which makes Mantis let go of his head, which brings Thanos back, and he, right before they get the gauntlet off his hand, he grabs it off of Peter, puts it back on, and he just starts murking everybody.
Yeah, he actually throws a moon at one point in time.
Yeah, he does throw a moon at
cool.
Tony at one time. But as that fight's going on, then you have the fight going on in Wakanda because the Black Order shows up there
with a fucking army of tarantula monkey spider things.
I think those are part of the Chitauri.
I don't fucking know.
So they start fighting. They're having a big fight there, and you're seeing some pretty cool scenes with Steve and Black Panther, doing some awesome moves. Now, this entire time, Bruce Banner has
erectile dysfunction.
He hasn't been able to bring the Hulk out, so he's in the Hulk busting armor. And it's a lot of misleading in their marketing in this movie because a lot of the marketing was showing Hulk fighting on Wakanda.
Yeah, that's like I saw that part and I'm like, wait a minute, wait, trailer, what happened?
It was all misdirection because I don't think they wanted to give away the fact that Hulk isn't going to make an appearance,
Right.
So they, that all goes on there. He starts, he's utilizing the Hulk busting armor as best he can, and there's moments where he's yelling at the Hulk like, hey buddy, it's time, I know you wait till the last minute, but it's time, you need to get out here. And he's like, no. And he's like, what do you mean no? Like, fine, I'll handle it myself. And he kills one of the children of Thanos himself utilizing the Hulk busting armor, which is kind of cool.
Fist up in the air. Chill.
Yeah.
Disintegration.
But Scarlet Witch stayed back with Shuri and Vision to help protect Vision. But all of a sudden you see that, okay, the ground forces are getting their asses handed to them, and they're in danger of, like, these big, like, wheel things come up from underneath the ground and come up, and they're starting to, like...
Yeah, the Hellfire droids from Star Wars Episode 2.
So shit's starting to hit the fan, so Scarlet Witch is like, all right, I gotta go help them. So she jumps onto the battlefield to help them, and...
she's getting tons of poo-poo on her pee-pee.
And that leaves Vision unprotected, and they send another one of the children of Thanos to get Vision at that time. And he starts, he tries to escape, and there's a little fight between him and the guy, and they're fighting in the woods, and they're like, oh, we gotta get to Vision, he's in danger. So shit just starts to fall apart.
Their mission just...
Yeah, everything is falling apart around them, just like on Titan, their shit fell apart. Like, they thought they had him, and it didn't happen like they thought. So everything's falling apart, and...
You throw one more moon at me.
Yes.
So... Okay, so as things are starting to hit the fan on Wakanda, all of a sudden you see a Bifrost open and hit the ground, and then you just see an axe.
And it's your boy
flying through, just killing a bunch of people.
Skinny penis comes down from the sky.
And it's Thor, Groot, and Rocket come down onto the battlefield, and Thor, like the amount of power Thor has now is fucking unbelievable.
He's a legit god now.
Like, he really is.
Yes.
He's badass. Absolutely badass. And then there's a really
I was so happy to see that.
There's a
I was
really-
like, finally.
there's a really cool scene with Rocket and Bucky, as you know they're about to get manhandled by a bunch of the Chitauri, whatever they are, and he picks up Rocket in one hand and he has his M4 in the other, and he's just spinning around like and they're shooting. He puts Rocket
Kind of
down.
like the Guardians of the Galaxy scene with Groot
Yeah.
and Rocket.
Yeah, he puts Rocket down, and Rocket looks at him and says, "Hey, how much for the gun?" And Bucky's like, "It's not for sale." And he goes, "How about the arm?" And Bucky just walks away. But it's a really funny scene. I liked it.
I love that part.
But you have Groot going off, and as the battle kind of winds down a little bit, just slightly, Steve and Thor meet up with each other and like, "Hey," Steve's like, "Hey, you got a haircut?" He's like, and Thor's like, "Yeah, looks like you're copying me with the beard." And they're like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Who's your friend?" He goes, "Oh, that's Tree. That's my friend Tree over there." And Steve looks at him, and Groot goes, "I am Groot." And Steve goes, "I am Steve Rogers."
Steve Rogers.
It was just the comedy fit perfectly in this movie. Like it was just absolutely perfect. So at that point, people are running to try and save Vision because he's getting attacked and everything like that. So that stuff's happening, and back on Titan, they're losing. They're losing the fight badly, and they're to the point where shit's hitting the fan, and it's Tony against Thanos. It's Iron Man against Thanos. Like that's all it is. Like nobody else is. They're pretty much all incapacitated at this moment because he just threw a fucking moon at them, and it's Tony
and your boy Spider-Man saving people.
Yeah, Spider-Man saving people. So
I don't remember your name.
Yeah. So he's taking them on, and Tony draws blood on Thanos, which was impressive, but Thanos is like, all of that for a speck of blood, like, because he put all he had into it. And, Thanos starts, like, attacking him back, and he's kind of,
He's just taking it.
He's, like, Iron Man's taking it, but his armor just can't keep up with, like, the re-healing factor of the armor, and it's just, like, getting busted. So Tony, like, whips out a sword out of his armor, and he goes to stab Thanos. Thanos grabs his arm, breaks the sword off of his armor, and just puts it in his other hand and just stabs Tony right in the chest. Or the gut, maybe. But then
I cried.
It was at that moment I thought, again, fuck Rachel. Yeah.
I cried. I legitimately bawled right there. I was like, no.
I knew they weren't gonna kill him. Like I knew that.
I know that, but they put so much into that fight.
Yeah.
That your heart just like stops at that moment. You're like, oh my god, they just didn't.
Yeah. So it was crazy, and he was about to kill him. Thanos was to the point where he was going to use the gauntlet.
Hopefully they remember you.
Yeah, and he goes, you fought great, but I got to fulfill my mission. Hopefully they will remember you. And right before he blasts Tony, Doctor Strange was like, "Don't,
I got some shit to tell you.
I will give you the Time Stone if you save his life." And which was interesting because earlier in the movie, Doctor Strange is like, "Look, I have to protect this stone. So if it comes down to your life or the stone, your or the boy's life over the stone, I'm protecting the stone. I will not save your lives."
Right.
But he ends up saving Tony's life and giving up the stone. And he looks at Tony after he does it, and he goes, "We're in the end game." So Thanos takes the stone, does not kill Tony, which is a very interesting thing because this entire time Thanos has not killed anybody that he hasn't had to kill.
Yeah.
Like everything that he's doing is to do what he needs to do. He doesn't want to be the one who decides who lives and dies. He just knows that he needs to use the gauntlet to destroy half of all of humanity across the galaxy to preserve it, to save the galaxy or the universe. And he doesn't want to be the one deciding it. So he doesn't have to kill Tony, so he doesn't. He gets the stone, he gets what he wants, and he leaves. But where does he go? He goes to Earth. So he gets to Earth, and at that moment, shit is hitting the fan. You think that Vision is going to be safe because they took care of all of the children of Thanos. They're all dead.
Yeah.
They're all gone.
So, which was kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
A little bit.
But you're like, okay, all right, yeah, they can pull this off. They can pull this off. Well, Thanos shows up, and when he shows up, they're like, oh shit, this is him. Like,
they're like, fuck.
Yeah, we got to stop. Now, the entire time, the only person that can destroy the Mind Stone is Wanda, is Scarlet Witch. And the entire time, the whole idea was we have to try and protect Vision, not kill Vision. We don't sacrifice one life for anybody else. So that's why they were trying to remove the stone from his head, so then Wanda could destroy the stone while keeping Vision alive. Well, it got to the point where the time ran out. They had to just destroy the stone, and by doing so, it would destroy Vision. And Scarlet Witch just didn't want to do it, but it sucked that it had to be her, but it had to be her. She was the only one powerful enough to do it. So Vision's like, now is the time. You have to. We have no other option. Like, you have to destroy it, or everybody's dead, essentially. So she starts to, use her powers to destroy the stone. And while she's doing that, Thanos is just,
laying waste to the
calmly
Avengers.
walking towards them while all of the Avengers are trying to fight him. And first you see the not Hulk, Bruce Banner and the Hulkbuster armor come charging at him, and Thanos just makes him phase into the side of a rock wall, and he's just stuck there in the rock wall. You see Rhodey come in with what's his War Machine out, suit, and he comes in and he's like, trying to, Thanos just kind of crushes him and throws him to the side, and you see, Falcon come in and he gets batted to the side, like everybody's just getting batted away, like they're gnats, just getting hit. And there's a moment where, Steve actually jumps in and like grabs his hand as he's about to, as he's fighting him, and it looked like Thanos was gonna smash him, but nope, Steve grabs his hand, and for a moment there, Thanos is like, holy shit, like he's holding me off, but he just takes his other hand and just punches him right in the side of the face.
Literally makes that noise.
Dude, he gets knocked the fuck out, dude.
No, he gets fucked.
I cried there too.
I don't think Steve has ever taken a hit as hard as he did right there, because he got hit
I don't think so either.
hard, dude. And it was right in the side of the head. It was cool, and I actually thought for a moment, I was like, that's how they're gonna kill him? That's how they're gonna do it? They're gonna smash in his fucking head? I was like, alright.
If they would have, we would have got a close-up on the body, because they would have done that for 2 for 2.
Yeah. So, they then go back to... Or they basically Thanos makes his way to Scarlet Witch, and Scarlet Witch is holding him off with one hand while trying to destroy the stone in her other, and she's sitting there doing this, and she's successful. Boom, the stone explodes, and poof, it's gone. And Scarlet Witch is she's in tears because the love of her life is gone, the one she loves, and Thanos is like, I understand more than you can ever imagine. And that's just the call back to him having to sacrifice Gamora for what his goal is. Same thing, he's like, I understand more than you can imagine, but it was all for naught, and he uses the time stone.
Just uses that emotional terrorism.
Yeah, and he uses the time stone and brings, and it reforms Vision and everything, and he just walks over and pulls the stone out.
Not even like that. Just grabs his face and rips his whole fucking face off.
Pretty much. I was like, no, really? I knew that he was gonna use that, but I'm like, son of a bitch!
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for it.
So
one cannot walk in ready for that.
No. So he gets the stone, and you think that's it, like all is done. But Thanos is talking, and then Thor shows up, and Thor throws fucking Stormbreaker at him, and it flies and goes right into Thanos' chest, and you're like, holy shit, they're gonna win! Thank God.
Thor pushes it in.
Thor jumps down, and he's like, I told you. And he pushes it in. He's like, I told you I'd kill you, and that kind of thing. And Thanos is like, he's struggling, he's hurt. Like Thanos is like, fuck, dude, this sucks. But
well, like any blow to the chest would.
And he looks at him. He's like, yeah, but you should have gone for the head. And just at that moment, he goes.
The fabled scene.
The scene where he, clicks his fingers and now my theater went completely silent. Both times that I saw it, the theater was silent because people were like, holy shit, did that just happen? And there's like a little flash, like a weird scene where it's Thanos talking to young Gamora again, and she's like, what did it cost? Was it worth it? What did it cost? And he's like, everything. And it's just, wow, damn, that it really did. It cost him everything to fulfill this. It then comes back to him on Earth, and you see the Infinity Gauntlet completely destroyed. But the stones are still there, but the gauntlet is destroyed. And Thor's like, what did you do? What did you do? And Thanos is just like kind of stands up and kind of just walks back. Like he says some comments, but he walks out and fucking leaves through a portal. And everybody's like, what's going on? And the first person to go, and again I thought, fuck, Rachel. All you hear is Bucky go, Steve. And you look at him, and he collapses and just kind of turns into dust.
Oh, it's the feels. We get him for like 5 minutes in every movie, and then he's gone. Just give me him.
In total, you see Groot, Star-Lord, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Bucky. Was Scarlet Witch one of them also? I think Scarlet Witch also disintegrated.
Scarlet Witch was one.
You see all these people disintegrate, but probably to me the most impactful one was Spider-Man.
Well, it was the longest.
It was the longest, but he walks up to Peter and he's like, Tony, or I think he goes, Mr. Stark, I feel weird.
He's like, I don't feel good.
I don't feel good or something. Yeah, and he like falls into his arms and he's like, I don't want to die. I don't want to. I'm so sorry.
I don't want to go.
And he's like, he's just being a kid about it. Like, it's a kid that doesn't want to die. He has so much to live for, but he doesn't want to die, and that's kind of what's going on. And
I have a question for you.
What's up?
So we see the developed Spidey sense.
Yeah.
Do you think he felt it?
What?
His death?
The Spidey sense. You think it tingled right before he died?
It could
Oh,
have.
I'm
And
sure.
so he felt his own death before it happened.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's a lot for a 16-year-old.
Yeah. But I mean, every scene where somebody was dying, Falcon and stuff like that, there was literally somebody right by them that's almost witnessing them dying. Rocket witnessed Groot die, and Steve saw Bucky die, and Tony saw Doctor Strange die, and Star-Lord saw Drax, Tony saw Star-Lord. Like, we saw all these people just disintegrate into nothingness, in front of everybody, and you're like, holy shit, like, Thanos did what he wanted to do. Like, half the entire universe is gone. And Tony's sitting on Titan, and it's just Tony and Nebula. And right before Doctor Strange goes, he goes, "There was no other way." I saw no other way, or there was no other way, and he disintegrates. So it's just Tony and Nebula on Titan.
And then you get that scene from the trailers of Tony with his
holding his hand.
His hand.
His hand, yeah. With the sun behind him, or whatever, the star behind him. Like, yeah, that was an impactful scene. And then the final scene is Thanos coming out of a portal onto a planet. Some people think it's Gamora's planet, but it's a paradise planet now. Like, it's a beautiful planet, and he's watching the sun and looking over a field, and he sits down and he gets a smile on his face of accomplishment.
Do keep in mind he was limping.
He was limping, yes, but he
still was fucked.
He has a smile of accomplishment on his face, and the screen just goes to black, and that's the end of the movie. And
then you have to patiently wait through like 10 minutes, 15 minutes of credits.
Oh, I know.
To get the post-credit scene.
It.
The post-credit scene is Nick Fury and Maria Hill are driving. I'm thinking it was DC. I'm not sure though, but they're driving through maybe New York.
It was something. It was a big city.
Yeah, so they're driving through. I think there were tall buildings, so it's not DC. DC doesn't have tall buildings.
I think it was New York.
Seattle.
So they're driving around, and all of a sudden cars are wrecking and stuff like that. And they're like, "What's going on?" So they get out of the car to go see what's going on, and they see that people have been disappearing and stuff like that. And they're like, "What is going on?" And Maria Hill then disappears, and Nick Fury's like, okay, this isn't cool. Like, he goes and he grabs a pager thing out of his pocket and he types something on it. And as he's typing something on it, he starts to notice that he's disappearing. And as he disappears, he goes, "Motherfuck!" And it just kind of stops there. But the pager falls on the ground, and you see it's the little star emblem of Captain Marvel. So he's calling out to Captain Marvel. And that was the end credit scene. But overall, this movie, literally, Colton can attest for me, when it ended, I just looked at him. Jaw still dropped.
I think we both did. We looked at each other.
What the hell did we just see?
Girlfriend on the left, you on the right. I look at you because I know she had no clue what was happening. I look at you and I'm like, what? What?
Yeah, I mean,
it took it. Like, I was proud of her. She held all of her questions to the end. But that whole 45-minute car ride home, I still had no clue what the fuck happened.
That's the thing. Like I said, I posted on Facebook 12 hours later. I was like, still 12 hours later, I'm still reeling from the movie.
Yeah,
I still can't comprehend everything that I witnessed because there's so much.
Like, for 2.5 hours, they cram a lot of just shit.
Yeah, it's
but they did it in a great way, though, I feel.
Yeah, it was.
Like, it didn't feel like it was crammed. It felt like it was kind of really going through sequence. Now, like, when I was watching the movie, I had my boyfriend sitting next to me, and I'm sitting there, and I looked over at him, and I was like, you know what? I have a feeling that there's not going to be an Avengers 4. I have a feeling that they're going to get this fucking thing off of him before that, or Thor's going to kill his ass. This is, right at that scene. Mm-hmm. And my boyfriend just looks at me, he's like, really? You really think that? I was like, yeah, because the way that this is going, I feel like they're going to do something crazy like that. And then obviously I was wrong, but hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely insane.
I still think I don't understand. I mean, I understand why they didn't want the post-credit scene after watching the film. Like that didn't need a post-credit scene at all.
No.
But the post-credit scene kind of was helpful. Like it was fitting.
I'm just glad we got to see Nick Fury again, because we haven't seen him since Ultron, was it?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Was it Winter Soldier?
You're a Winter Soldier.
We saw him in Winter Soldier, and he got pretty beat up, and then we saw him again in Ultron, because remember, Tony went out to go fix the tractor, and Fury was there?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that film was a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Thank you for hanging in there with us.
Yeah, I tried to get through it as best I can. This is just one of those movies you have to go beat for beat, because there's no easy way to explain it. You have to kind of go beat for beat for it. But yeah, I mean this movie, like I said,
it's an emotional tolling movie.
Yeah, and I saw it the second time. The second time, I think it was better than the first time. I enjoyed it. My kids enjoyed it.
We're seeing it again this week.
So
yeah, I'm seeing it Friday.
Yeah, it's totally worth it. It's made all of the money already. It's going to be making more money. It's going to be over $1 billion. I guarantee it.
It's probably already over.
No,
$1 billion.
It's worldwide. It's over 600 million. So it's not.
Yeah, but when was that last figure taken? Sunday.
Yesterday.
Sunday,
oh shit!
Yeah.
Today's Monday. I thought today was Tuesday. Never mind.
Yeah.
No.
My bad.
No, and honestly, during the week it kind of slows down.
Well,
so their big numbers will come in next weekend. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes week to week, because I think next weekend it'll probably make around 300 to 400 million, and then the following week probably about 200 million. It's going to break the $1 billion after that point. So, yeah, that's how it's going to go. But amazing film. Go see it. Just go freaking see this movie.
I think the only thing that I was a little kind of pissed about, and that's why I give it the rating that I do, is because like they talked about somebody dying in this film so much, but I don't feel like Loki's death or Vision's death was enough for me. It was kind of like I was waiting for Steve to die, because that's all we kept hearing about. Like everybody was like, Steve's gonna die, and like with all the other characters dying, it didn't feel like they were dying. It just, they were vanishing to me.
But you gotta, put
so
it
it wasn't meaningful to me. So like, oh my god.
You gotta put it into perspective. Like Tony nor Steve died because there's still unfinished business between the two of them that we're gonna see before one of them dies.
Right.
So that's a big reason for that. And honestly, out of all of the people that vanished, I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see somebody come back. There could be something that happens, the reason why they don't come back.
Right.
My question is this: what do you think is going to happen in Avengers 4? Rachel.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm hoping that. Well, I have a feeling that Thor's gonna get another crack at Thanos, and it's gonna be one bloody fucking battle. Because the gauntlet looks like it's torn to bits.
Yes.
The only thing that's still in the gauntlet is the stones that look fine, but the gauntlet itself is starting to. It looked like it was melted, and so it's probably gonna shatter. Meaning it's going to be easier for them to get the stones. And if they get their hands on the time stone, they can reverse this. Which in one of the stills we got to see a few weeks back was them back in New York. Steve was in his old uniform from the first Avengers movie, and they were in New York during the Battle of the Chitauri.
Yep.
So they're going to go back, and I think that's when they're going to stop Thanos for good. That's just my idea on it. Because why would they show that to us?
I mean, they technically didn't show it to us. They were leaked photos, so they came out. But no, you're right. I think they're going to go back in time like that. I think that they're going to go back to the Forge planet and get a new gauntlet created. I think Tony is actually going to put on the new gauntlet. I think he's going to be the one that rescues everything with the new gauntlet. I think that Steve will be the one who kills Thanos, but he has to kill himself to do so. So I think there's going to be a lot that happens in Avengers 4. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out. I can't wait to see it. I know it comes out next year, next May. I think it's like May 6th of next year or something like that. Not soon enough. Whatever.
Literally one motherfucking year.
Yeah, not soon enough. So I know that we have Ant-Man and the Wasp that comes out in July.
I'm gonna hate myself.
And then we have Captain Marvel that comes out next March. And those are the only two Marvel films we have before Avengers 4, which right now is rumored to be titled Endgame. That is the rumor, but again,
Which makes sense because that's what Doctor Strange said.
yes,
This is Endgame now, you
yeah,
know.
we're in
So
the
it's like,
Endgame.
okay, but it honestly, like whenever I looked at that, like the picture that we got of the title, I was kind of like, it kind of reminds me of Ender's Game, or what is that, Maze Runner kind of thing,
Yeah.
and it kind of like threw me off just a little bit, and I was like, I don't really like that. They can name it so many. Like I would like to see it Avengers Assemble. That's just my personal opinion.
They didn't. Wasn't that? That's what the European version of the first Avengers was called. So they can't do that. So
I think Endgame fits.
in Europe and everything, the first Avengers movie was called Avengers Assemble, whereas in America it was just called The Avengers. So
Right.
they can't do that, unfortunately.
I think Endgame fits.
Lame. I mean, it does, but it's just like, it kind of like,
It doesn't.
Endgame.
It doesn't give me the same feel that Infinity War did.
Yeah,
You know?
but
yeah.
it ends Phase 3. It ends Marvel as we know it. It's the end.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's setting up Phase 4. That's how I view it.
The only thing
It's bigger
I
than the
wonder
movie itself.
is like we got like Thor, we got 1 through 3 of that. Iron Man, we got 1 through 3 of that. You know,
Hawk, we got
Are
maybe
we-
one.
right? Are we gonna get like 2 more Doctor Stranges? Because that would be great. I would like to see more Doctor Strange.
I don't. I think he plays better as a side character than a main character. I really
Loved his movie though.
I didn't like Doctor Strange, but I loved him in Infinity War. I thought
He stole the show.
He
to be
no,
honest.
see, I think Thor stole the show, but a
Well,
close second
yeah.
was Doctor Strange. I just loved the way he was portrayed. Everything about this movie, I am gonna go back and watch Doctor Strange now after watching this, and maybe I'm gonna like Doctor Strange more now. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of Doctor Strange the first time I watched it. So I'll give it a try again. But honestly, I think he should be somebody that just pops up in like a Spider-Man film or
Yeah,
you know,
it would
something
make
like
sense.
that.
Kind of like a cameo,
Yeah.
but yet
Exactly.
in the movie a good bit.
Yeah, exactly.
I could see that. I could see that.
But we'll see what happens. Any thoughts, Colton, on anything coming up? Anything else? No.
I'm gonna hate myself for watching Ant-Man, but you know,
What? Why?
He's
because
not
I
an Ant-Man.
hate Ant-Man.
I love Ant-Man.
Ant-Man's as bad as Hawkeye.
Come
Both-
on.
both are
Well,
literally-
Hawkeye's playing tag right now, so leave him alone.
Both are utterly useless.
They are not useless.
Yeah. So okay, if nobody else has anything else, we're gonna end the show here. I'm gonna ask you, Rachel, if you want to come back on the show sometime, you know, in the next week or two, or just talk about anything. You're more than welcome all the time. We record the same days, a little earlier than this normally, but we record the same days. So
Yeah, this one's a late one for us.
yeah.
Well, I had a photo shoot that I kind of had to cancel, so you know, just it was a nightmare today for me.
Okay. Well, just keep us in mind if you ever want to talk more geekdom, nerd and stuff like that. So let us know. But yeah, with that said, I've been Robert. With me was
Ya boy.
and Rachel. Thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you all in the next week or so.
Bye.
Oh wait, you know what I forgot to do?
What?
Sometimes I forget to do this.
Hope that's licensed music.
It is.